Let's play this.
On Vitric Forge, so heading on over to the map room, and I'll turn it over to you, Ghosty.
Yeah. So, as for what I would expect from KSG and KDCM, I would say they're both interesting teams. They're both flexible teams, but if I had to place a bet, I would say KDCM is going to be similar to what we saw in the last match that KDCM's B team and KSG played. That KDCM is going to be a bit more pushy, and KSG is probably already going to be set up for that. As for Vitric, it's one of the new maps that was introduced, I think, last year to the game. And it's a very interesting map competitively because it plays differently from pretty much every other map in the pool. It is really hard. You do get your home caps for free, but controlling Theta is really hard if you're not inside of this square. And you're also not able to just sit back and hold your caps. It's very hard to get Overwatch on caps. So you kind of have to play caps by putting mechs on them instead of putting mechs away from them, shooting people that are trying to capture them. So what ends up happening is that these ramps in the center are the most contested area. But if you're trying to just sit here and be static, you're very open to a full SRM team just walking up and rushing you. So it becomes a very dynamic map wherein you have to kind of play back, see if they what kind of deck they are. Then if they have a bit more trade than you have to move up. If they don't, you don't. And it's the kind of playstyle where skirmish lights like the Shadowcat really flourish. So you end up getting all of these angles from here, out on the sides that just shoot into basically the main forces, like the assault mechs that have moved up. And I would say the Shadowcat's probably the most important mech on this map, just because of that.
Interesting. We've also, just as a thought, or I guess a prompt in this case, on the, I don't know what we would call them, the pillars around Theta there, way up top, we've seen some mislinks or some Viper play. What's your thought on the value of that?
It's really good if teams push over because you end up, you have a high likelihood of getting ignored if you're up there. And a lot of brawl mechs won't have enough jump jets to get up to you, so they have to focus other targets. And it also can give you like good scouting information. But I think we've also seen that those mechs do end up getting shot sometimes, and it can be a risky position to play. But I think in general, because this map plays so dynamically and you have to adapt to what your enemy is doing, like going up high, getting early scouting is one of the most important things you can do.
That makes sense. I like to hear it as someone who likes to play those high jumping mechs. Let's see. So you kind of talked about pushing pushing or receiving. Can you talk a little bit more about what seems to be the way to receive on this map? Obviously, if you're pushing from one, that's one way to talk. But how do you play on the other side of something that you can't necessarily control?
The main way to receive is that you stack up on. Let me erase a little bit. You stack up on one of these corners here. So there's giant buildings on your home side. So you stack up on one of the corners, and you essentially just take 3 mechs, stack them together, and peek out, shoot people as they come through these open lanes. And also, whenever they jump up, and because you're right against the wall, they can't swarm you, which is the best way a brawl can win is if they get completely around you and you can't leg shield, you can't even torso twist anymore, because no matter which way you look, you're going to be backshot by someone. So in general, the way to push receive is almost always put the enemy mechs in front of you and don't let them get on top of you and surround you. Even if they're 20 meters away, if they're 20 meters away and they can't actually get to 5 meters away, then I would still say Laser Vomit can very often win against a push deck.
Okay. So following that up, you said you have 2 mechs peeking out. What's that third mech doing?
So the third mech is like, I think we've done this before where it's for us it's been a Highlander, a Marauder, and then a Crusader. So the third mech is also peeking with them, but realistically it's very easy to get 2 mechs peeking off of each other around a corner. And the third mech kind of, most of the time it's the Crusader. It doesn't get shot as much. It can pop tart over. It can shoot people that are overexposing. But the Crusader, again, is like probably your most valuable mech because in a push receive, because it has so much DPS for its tonnage. So that you kind of want to protect it.
Cool. And sort of to flip that on the receive, how would you push on this map just to cover multiple strats? So, you know, we've received the push, we've talked about spots where you want to cover. If you were gonna push, what would your ideal pathing be? Because we've seen a bunch of paths. We've seen people come over the top here. We've seen people use the ramps or some combination of the two. What are your thoughts on maybe the best way to accomplish a push here?
So I'd do one of those 2 paths. I'd walk out on the left side because this ramp goes up this way and this ramp goes up that way. So you want to go left because then if they're in the middle, you can just run up the ramp. And if they're not, you jump up all of your light mechs back here, and if you have decently fast Daka mechs, you can push them over the middle, which then their mechs get stuck here and get shot by mid-range and have like brawl mechs on them. You can't really get your assault mechs fast enough to do the what we call the Mario jump, which is this jump right here.
Okay, yeah. Uh-huh.
It's called the Mario jump because when we first practiced it, it was very common that people would like stomp on top of each other and just push each other back down.
Yeah, it's something that looks like it takes a fair bit of coordination to pull off that Mario jump. I love the evolution of this map, how it's played on brawl rushes. But my team itself has not been brave enough to attempt the Mario jump yet without any practice.
I think there's been like very early on when we did it, there was some experimentation with just going up with your mechs right to the ledge and just like stopping them from getting on the ledge and just fall back down.
Yeah. I think the first time I saw it, it was a KDCM pulling it off with an Intersphere Coalition in Season 5 back in February. And I believe at that time they were just jumping up from level ground on either side or something. It wasn't quite as dedicated and focused as the current Mario jump, but I believe that was the first time I saw it. So I'm crediting KDCM as having developed the jump, but I don't know if somebody else was using it first. It's just the first time I personally saw it.
I think from my knowledge, it definitely came out in ISC, but I know that we as a team also made it up without having looked at KDCM matches. I don't want to say that we have like invented it because I actually don't know. I have a feeling a lot of teams, since it was the first time the map was in the map pool, just came up with that simultaneously.
It's possible for two separate groups to organically come up with the same strategy at the same time. But for myself, that was the first time I saw it. It was something completely brand new to me at the time.
But also this favors into why I drew the receive mechs over here, is because you don't want to have your receive mechs on the right side, because then the optimal brawl path is better against you. So you'd want to be on the opposite side, so you still have these 400 meters. So what we now see is that teams very often actually go under here a little bit when they're still safe, once they know you're sitting back to receive, and they jump up the right side instead, so that they get closer to you without getting shot.
Secondary adaptation, yeah. It's interesting watching this map evolve in competitive play, how teams have played it. It really feels like a map where there isn't a whole lot of variance that you can do. The map's relatively narrow, which limits your flank options. It's almost symmetrical, dominated by the central ramps. So it kind of feels limited tactically what can be done, but we are seeing mechs use the side flanks effectively, and this jump here, which is at the beginning, people were just kind of just rushing over the ramps, at least in the divisions I was playing in. And so it's good to see some alternative options of play come out on this map.
I will say I didn't like the map when I first saw it. I didn't like it for comp because it kind of superimposes or imposes the limit of only being able to play some kind of mid-range or brawl. You cannot really play a lot of fast mechs and cap strat, and you can't really pull off an ER large deck.
Yeah,
but then I would prefer... in the way you play those mid-range decks, it is so flexible that I actually think it's a pretty good map.
Yeah, I prefer maps with a little bit more, side where you can run a bit more flank. There are flanks that are run on here, but it's a map where I see it as being fairly difficult to back cap just because of the dominance of the central high point map features and then the relatively narrow width of the map. But we have seen some teams playing low ground on this map as opposed to playing high ground, trying to do a 3-cap control on taking their 2 home caps, then taking one of the opponent's home caps. But typically high ground is just the way to play, and in this map the high ground is all centrally located.
All right, I have to bump in here. I'm sorry to cut in, but we are ready for ban.
All right.
Well, as soon as Casterian gives the go, so I'm going to swap us over. Feel free to continue chatting for a little bit in between, but I'm going to swap us over to the ban site as we get ready.
I hope we see Vitrek today then.
we will see. This will be interesting.
Yeah, so it's best of 5 for anyone joining us not familiar with the format. So we will see at least 3 maps, potentially all 5. It's 5v5 conquest, and these teams are actually not banning maps; they're picking maps. So first map chosen will be the first map played. I guess we should talk about the teams here a little bit. KDCM 17 Q Dodgers. The name is a reference to how they got into the MechWarrior Online Championships 2023. They qualified through the invitationals that took place back in August. And a little bit of an upset win there over the 5th Jaguar Dragoons, who were favored in that match. So they managed to dodge the queue, and they are now here facing against Casterian's Guards, who qualified through the comp queue. And they were I think it was a 10th seed. I don't have that information in front of me right now.
They were
pull that up.
8th seed in the invitational?
Oh, Casterian Guards, they didn't qualify through the
yes, but they were invited as the 8th team.
Yes, and they did not succeed at their challenge. They had to come through the comp queue. So Casterian Guards is a team that's been around a couple of years. KDCM's got a little bit of a longer history than that. And I've got it right here. Casterian Guards actually was the 6th seed coming out of the comp queue. So they played a fair number of games, and they managed to push their way up toward the top. Have they started their bans yet?
They should have. Selection? I have given. There we go. Vitric Station first.
Ah, great.
Just showed up. Then Mining, then Crimson. I'm going to double check the logs on this just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Then Polar. Hibernal.
I'm just pulling that up on my screen now.
Polar, Hibernal, Team 1 for Vitrix.
Yeah, so starting things off on Vitric Station, the map that we were talking about earlier. Mining Collective, another map that can be played effectively as Brawl. It can also be played range. Be interesting to see what teams elect to go with there. Crimson Straits, a little bit wider open. Caps start to come into play a little bit more in that larger map, but it's also a very brawlable map. Contesting the islands, popular strategy. Polar Highlands as the fourth map. Be interesting to see that. We have not seen a whole lot of matches played on Polar Highlands yet. A lot of options that can be played on there, including cap type strategies, and Hibernal Rift as the fifth and decider. It's a fairly popular map, Hibernal Rift. Basically a remake of the old Canyon Network. Very popular or heavily used competitive map.
All right. So we have two swaps.
Yeah, they're later on.
Yeah.
Just got to keep that in mind. So that'll keep things nice and easy to start off. In terms of, so Team 2 is going to be KDCM for the first three, which makes Castellan Guards Team 1 for the first three drops. And then we'll see if we get into drop 4 and 5.
All right, our sides are complete. I'm going to head us back to the map. Ghosty, I don't know if you guys want to continue your conversation from before while we get started.
Well, what do you guys think these teams are going to do?
I'm expecting KDCM to do the Mario strat. They're well known for brawling. I know they can do some other things as well, but this is a map that is very brawlable, and I would expect them to do what they're known for. That said, so do Castellan Guards. I'm assuming they would make the same assumptions I do, and they might have prepared something for it. I would not be shocked to see a brawl versus brawl here, though, where both teams just elect to take a brawl deck and see if they can out-brawl their opponents.
Brawl versus brawl is always really interesting on this map because you end up kind of meeting each other on the low ground on Theta, and it's this really awkward fight that you kind of never get with other combinations of decks.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you could go brawl, but mix in one ranged mech to force them to jump up to you. But again, they could just take caps at that point and force you to come down to Theta. But I don't know. I mean, I would love to see the brawl versus brawl. I'm not very familiar with Castellan's Guards, their play styles and all of that. It's somewhat of a mystery to me. But
I think KSG is not a team that is very likely to brawl, but I think they're pretty good at receiving brawl pushes, so it's still going to be very interesting to see.
One of the things that stands out to me with Castellan Guards is their off-meta mech choices and build choices. They've run some things that I wouldn't consider to be optimal builds, but they're making it work. So be interesting to see if they can keep doing that here as the competition heats up a little bit. They start facing off against better and better teams as they go on in the tournament. So a little bit of a wild card. Now, last time, Castrian Guards, they were running some mechs in the side flank location. I think it was a Mokar in the Shadowcat, mid-range Vomit Shadowcat, and the Red goes to Faster in a Hunchback 2CA, which is a very powerful medium clan mech, but you don't see it very often competitive right now because there's more of a focus on mobility. But it's a very powerful mech, and if you get those into this side high ground location, shooting in on the side of a brawl. But again, this brawl path that's been drawn is away from the high ground location where that Shadowcat would have the angles, and Hunchback would take too long to get up there. So it wouldn't have a very large impact on this particular Mario jump path. Now, if an adaptation could be made playing in another region of the map, maybe that comes more into play. But I'd
love to be able to play the Hunchy on this map. I think I'm like arguably the most fanatic Hunchy enthusiast, but
I love the Hunchback 2CA, but the drop decks that my team has been running in ComQ, it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
It just doesn't do what we're doing. And I don't think that the mech is weak, it just doesn't fit the meta.
I think every time we go over a drop deck change, I go to the team and go like, hey, can I play a Hunchy? But I just don't think it's that good on this map. It's a laser moment mech nowadays because the PPC build really falls apart. So
well, it can be run with PPCs and small pulse backup as like a hybrid bracket build.
Yes, but compared to other hybrid PPC builds, it's now no longer the best at anything. Really,
it is a little bit fragile playing that kind of Pop-Tart role compared to some of its peers. But if you're running into a brawl team and you wanted to bring one ranged element, maybe that's the mech you could, or well, okay, obviously you bring the Shadowcat with the mid-range Vomit, but like as a secondary, you could have your assaults then focus more in the brawl receive, and have the Pop-Tart Hunchback force the push. Maybe I don't know. I don't know if they're going to bring that Hunchback to
bring up an alternative. Huntsman P with 2 PPCs and 4 SRM6s is just what the Hunchy does in that case, but better. So that's why I'm saying that the PPC one kind of falls apart. It's not that it got worse. It's more just that things around it got better, and so it's no longer top tier comp viable.
I mean, the pinpoint of the small pulses is immense, but yeah, you can't mix in the PPC shots. It gets too hot. Whereas on that Hunchback with the SRMs, you'd still be able to use the peeps a little bit.
But yeah, the Laser Vomit one it definitely has uses, but I think on this map, it against a brawl push is just too weak. It doesn't put out enough damage.
Too slow to get into these positions that you wanted in, whereas the Shadowcat can make it there.
I actually don't think that's the main issue because it goes 95. It can easily get there in time. It's just when you get there, you only have Laser Vomit on the 2CA, whereas the Shadowcat can annoy with Laser Vomit and also gets heavy machine guns.
Yeah, the machine gun backup, definitely not to be discounted.
So there is definitely a point to bringing a Shadowcat over a Hunchy. And yeah, I can see some positions actually for like pushy Sieve. I could see pillars like this here around Sigma. Well, actually, they're not around Sigma. Or? No, pillars like this one. There's a bunch of them. I think this is also one. You can jump up there with a mech with enough jump jets, and I think in ISC, we put something like a Blackjack Arrow up there. Of course, that's no longer that great of a mech like nowadays, because we also have access to clan mechs and it gets overshadowed. But something like that has some really good mid-range DPS can be really annoying to push against because you can't get on top of it very easily.
All right, looks like the teams are ready.
Yep, I'm going to give them the launch of warning, and we will hop on into the first drop of the day. Interestingly, on Vitric, which we were, just talking about. Funny how that kind of works out. Just waiting for folks to load on in, taking a look at some of these spots we were talking about, I guess, while we wait. Here's those pillars that I was talking about, and we're in. All right, cool. I'm over here with KDCM. Looks like we've got a Summoner, a Viper, Dervish, Crusader 60. We'll take a look at that. Let's see here. Our XE in here with PPCs, the Summoner with SRMs, Crusader with just the smalls, our Hellspawn with SRMs, and this Marauder with basically a whole lot of lasers. So yeah, we're looking at sort of a mid-range push-ish with a little bit of Overwatch. We'll check out those pathings that we were talking about. Let's head on over to Casterian's Guard.
Casterian Guard's going full on receive deck. They've brought a lot of UX on the Direwolf and the Night Gear. They've got Laser Vomit on Evan Jaguar and Phoenix Hawk, mid-range Vomit. So definitely they're looking at a push receive here. And they've got the Shadow Cat off on the side flank as expected.
Yep, and we've got Red goes DeFasta in the Viper here doing a little harassment on the side over here by the ramp. They're scouting out this push. KDCM gathering right now, just probably waiting for Jormungandr to be ready to crest top before they start making their move, but they are bleeding armor as they wait. An artillery strike right there on the ramp to hold them up, and Casterian Guard in a wonderful receive position, but a bunch of these guys a little far back, so they're going real hard on the receive. KDCM would be wise to switch to cap game after they take a couple mechs, honestly. And here goes the push.
Yep.
Sneck over in the XE, Jormungandr pushing the Marauder, and this Wolfpack making that cross.
Shoney's leading the way here. They're going to get picked apart, assuming anyone can hit their shots here. 75% on that Viper. Yeah.
Meanwhile, we got Zelnega in the Mistlinks, already in the back of Enova and Gwentler, splitting that fire. Tawars coming in with the Dervish.
Yeah.
Dreadnought about to go down. Jormungandr got focused down as well. Casterian in the Ebenjag tucked into the corner. There goes Enova in the back with Gwentler as well. And Dreadnought, it is tied up. Casterian look at the worst for wear, but just kind of hanging out. But he gets spotted by Tawars and Giggity, who just have him tucked in the corner. They can figure him out. There we go. Tawars finishing off that leg, going after Mokar in the Shadow Cat. Shone's dropping down the Viper to join the fight against old Hazu, the 3-pack here of the Casterian's guards. KDCM with a advantage, but the Mistlinks looking a little rough. Worse for
Executioner
wear.
Got legged. It's all but the legs right now. If the
there
legs
goes
come
Omega.
off the mechs, the Shadow Cat can clutch the win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Viper.
Sneck going down, evening it up, but then there goes Jabavo. Giggity going down as well. So it's Mokor and Red in fast movers against
the Dervish is the only mech with legs.
Oh, did the Viper got legged as well?
Viper is legged and the Crusader are legged. So it is 3 mechs to 2, but the 2 mechs versus 1 in terms of mechs that have the ability to pursue, or kite as the situation calls.
Yep. Jay and that Crusader with all weapons though, so if he can catch anyone, let's see how Tawars is doing. Tawars open leg, not too bad though. Still got a very nice loadout.
That leg is a little bit too beat up. I think this is going to go the way of Casterian Guards. They're going to play it out smart. The KDCM is taking caps right now. They've sent the Crusader to go get the far cap over at Sigma, and Shoney's is grabbing Kappa. So, but the 2 mechs for Casterian Guards are also going to get caps right now. And
they aren't actually. They've stalled. They're looking for the fight. While KDCM continues to cap.
You know, that's actually probably intelligent to try and take the leg off the Dervish before turning to go for caps. There is plenty of time left. Caps are only at 250 each.
Yeah, both legs now open on the Dervish. But that being said, since they're not moving to take it, there we go. Yeah, they are working on that Dervish. Yeah, that's going to add up over time. Let's see. Yep, Tawars finally legged. Should be going down here shortly.
Good job on the shielding.
Yeah, absolutely. But there it is. Just a little bit of movement there. All right, now Mokar and DeRed are able to go.
Yeah.
Now DeRed over here against Jay. Jay with all weapons. Jay caught a little bit napping there.
Yeah. Small lasers aren't going to have the reach to get up to the Viper's position with the ER meads and light machine guns. Just play it smart from DeRed, and it's a fairly easy kill to pick up, even with the excellent leg shielding.
Yep. Jay tucking in, though, keeping the angles. Maybe trying to get a little...
You know what?
There's a little ledge there.
Trying to find the angle here.
No, DeRed is...
leaving.
Yeah, they're moving to caps now.
They might have lost track of where Jay is.
Maybe, or we're just going for the Viper over here. Let's get a read on that. Leg open and falling. DeRed going to pursue, find the angles on Sean, who's going to tuck in here, maybe meet up with Jay in the middle. Nope, not going to make it. DeRed getting the pick on that. We are over halfway on caps in KDCM's favor. Jay using the auto walk feature to negotiate, looks like.
Yeah, at this point, the best option for Jay is probably to start issuing Bachals and see if you can get someone to come and 1v1 you within range honorably instead of getting picked off at range.
Let's see here. So we've got DeRed. DeRed over there.
We go. The challenge has been issued.
Here we go. Looks like we got a Shadow Cat over here. Gotta take a chunk out of Jay.
Wanting him.
Oh yeah, we're getting some stuff over there.
This is very dishonorable.
They must be spheroids. That's not the player inner spheroids, is what I meant. All right, there we go. Jay down 2 legs. First match going to the Castarian Guard. Well played on both.
I just realized I forgot to use first person on this drop, so I'm going to be trying to use first person here going forward, but it's force a habit not using it.
Let me see. Hobby stats. All right. Excellent. First match in the book's gonna send you guys over to the scoreboard. We'll take a look at that, and then we'll turn over to Ghosty a little bit for a debrief. Just looking at damage, we got 504 from Mokar in that Shadow Cat, 479 from DeRed, those last two, but Jloy Strelok 412 coming in third there. On KDCM, we see much lower spread even with that brawl. Let's see, Jay eking out the highest at 328, so it looks like this was largely a matter of a bit of damage distance and difference, and so a little bit of focus fire. All right, gotta turn it over to you, Ghosty. We'll head over to the map room in just a sec as soon as people get a chance to look at these numbers.
So I think the main thing that happened is that KSG pulled out most one-dimensional strat in the books, and KDCM just said, okay, we'll just play your game and come push you there. Basically KSG set up, I can erase most of this, they set up all the way over Kappa with all their big mechs, and actually they had a Marauder like here. And instead of doing the correct thing, which would be, oh, let's just take Sigma and Theta because they have 0 map control, and then you wait, and you can just put your light mechs here and your assault mechs behind the ramps if you're KDCM, and at some point KSG has to move up because you have all the caps. But it's hard to identify those situations, so when they do happen and you end up just pushing, which is what they did, you're running into what is the best receive setup on this map. It's not what I mentioned when I was talking about receive setups earlier, because it's so inflexible that as soon as the other team figures out what you're doing, they can very easily just force you to lose the match. So it's a strat that specifically counters them full pushing you, but even with the push deck, they can identify what you're doing, and then your receive stat also ends up not being that great. Then again, I do think if KDCM had just jumped the assaults faster with even just the mistakes, it might have gone the other way with how close the brawl ended up being.
All right. That sounds good. Let's move on to everyone's favorite map. Well, I don't know if that's entirely true, but I'm kind of partial to it. Mining Collective, which is the next up on our list.
Ooh. Hold on. Is my mic not going?
Oh, there you go.
Now it is.
May not have been.
Okay, I just saw that maybe there was an issue, but no, it looks like it's good.
So mining.
Mining Collective.
Similar playstyles. I'd say it's a lot different, but in terms of what kind of decks you see, it ends up quite often being somewhat similar, though with less of a focus on laser vomit and more of a focus on PPCs and ER large. So with KSG being team 1, I'm gonna expect mechs here. I'm gonna expect a mech here for their assault mechs. And I'm honestly just gonna expect them to take Gamma and Kappa and be somewhat comfortable with that. Again, expecting KDCM to rush. And from KDCM, I'd actually expect a north-sided like control strat, not a full SRM push, but a strat that runs through to pushes these two mechs off of Cupcakes and then takes control of the north side. And through that, trying to get control of Theta.
So Team 2 is favored on this map, is what the stats are showing out of CompQ. That'd be due to the center location where the Team 2 side can shoot in on Theta, Team 1 side can't. And that, I think, this was map side here was picked by KDCM, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they were.
Yes.
So this is their choice to play on the Team 2 side, the favored side. If you were playing range, this would be the side you'd pick, but also if you didn't want to play against a dedicated receive strat, this would be the Team 2 side, would be the side you'd pick. Makes it easier to get those 3 caps if you know, something like Casterian Guards decided to run the AC2 UAC2 receive deck again, hard receive. They don't have access to this high ground location behind the Charlie spawn, and they don't have as easy a time guarding Theta.
Yes, it's I think if you're playing trade, there's something to be said about at the highest level the teams being very balanced, but
yeah,
as soon as you evolve into a more dynamic approach to this map, it like the more advantageous or bit more advantageous angles Team 1 tends to get for trading like start not being as worthwhile. And I think the win rate was like 56% for Team 2. So
yeah, 56 to like 44.
It's not an imbalanced map by any stretch, but we've seen in CompQ that there is a difference.
Yeah, 8% is fairly significant. Enough that if I was picking the map side, I would definitely be picking Team 2, which is what KDCM has done here.
Well, actually, interestingly enough, KDCM chose maps first, which means they chose Vitric. Oh, which means they would have chosen the side. Yes. Okay.
Side.
Sorry. I'm
Vitric actually very often tends to be the first pick for pretty much every team because it is so symmetrical that giving the other team the side pick is barely basically meaningless. So a lot of teams play Vitric first or pick it first, even if they aren't actually a good team on Vitric, just so that they get more favorable side picks coming into other maps.
I have considered that level of the metagame. That's cool.
With KDCM playing on this map, I've seen brawls around the Echo 4 low ground, with one team or the other getting caught in that low ground ramp area, just contesting this high ground in Echo 4. Now, I don't know why teams keep getting caught in this Echo 4 kill box. It's not where anyone should want to be, but I believe watching the KDCM matches this year, I've seen that occur. in like the seeding rounds for the Invitational. So that's something I'm going to keep an eye on. See if anyone gets caught down in Echo 4 kill box and ends up perhaps not winning based off of that movement, and try to see how that develops if it does.
A heat map of maps would be pretty interesting to see, especially
yes.
I think we had those at some point. Love to see them again.
Heck yeah.
Back in like beta, there were some.
That would be cool if we could bring that back. But both teams are locked. I'm going to push on over to the match. I'm going to go ahead and launch these folks. Also, just Ghosty, is my Discord stream coming through okay, or is it a bit choppy?
That's great.
Okay, cool. Occasionally I have issues on that, so I just want to make sure that we're functioning today. Here's that Echo 4 kill box that we're talking about, that low ground right in here where I'm sitting. You can see why it's not such a great place to be. But the dropships are flying in. I'm over here with KDCM. We've got Executioner Crusaders, Assassin Dervish. I think we've seen this drop deck before. We are looking at basically a jumpy push. ER Peeps on the Crusader. Let's see here. Let's take a look at what's coming through the tunnel here. The Executioner is running ER Peeps as well. Summoner is the Serm Bomber, and Laser Bomb on the Marauder. We've got over on the guards.
It's full push. They've got the Keeper, Catapult K2 bringing the brawl. Somebody took a rear shot into the Arctic Wolf's rear coming out of the dropship, I guess. So they're missing 5% health in a rear side torso. Hopefully that doesn't end up mattering. But this is full brawl.
Yeah, that's
and I'm going to jump into a cockpit here.
That's wild. That is significant back damage right there. That is like cherry red structure from the back.
Yeah, almost lost a side torso.
That's brutal. All right, yeah, so it looks like Asterian Guards coming around the outside, avoiding that Echo 4 kill box. KDCM taking Theta and trying to find the high ground and find out where Casterian Guards are going to be coming from. Looks like they are spread out in more of a receive pattern than a push pattern.
Now, the UAV there got all the information KDCM needed in terms of wanting to know where Casterian Guards were located.
Casterian taking the top of Echo 4, trying to rain down a good arty strike right in the middle of all of them. It's going to take a couple % off. Zloy just getting pounded by it. I think he got hit by 3 or 4 shells. Knocking him down 5%. KDCM gathering up a little of the center, trying to make something happen here. Maybe push them down off of Echo 4. Gwentler pushing up at the Victor, catching a whole bunch of SRMs and an arty strike.
Yeah, strike doing a bit of damage there. It's a little bit crowded up top for Casterian's Guards right now.
Yeah, but that is the high ground you want to maintain here. You know, avoiding those kill boxes. Yep. KDCM spreading out
for 4max.
Yeah, I think KDCM ultimately. Oh, Casterian drops in the catapult. About to get jumped on, maybe, but he's got some Overwatch. Looks like he maybe lost a leg. Yep, with a leg open, that's a big change in momentum here. All of a sudden, Casterian just falling off, maybe trying to get an angle, maybe trying to be bait. KDCM not fully taking it. Yep, Mokar in the Shadowcat getting jumped here by KDCM's Wolfpack. Legged so instantly. There we are, 64%. Mokar gonna go down. KDCM essentially getting a mostly free kill there for a little bit of armor trade. Gwentler and the Victor going to drop down in the middle of them all. Let's see if KDCM's able to pick up on that. No. Mokar is disconnected, or Gwentler is disconnected.
Oh, no.
That's unfortunate.
Well, that's 2 major issues, the back shot plus the disconnect.
Yep, that is a lot of bad. Let's see here. Dered getting cleaned up by Jay and Zelnega here.
Yeah, Sneck and that fresh Executioner coming in now.
Yep. Here's the KDCM push to close.
Yeah. Just
Yeah,
clean
Light
up at
Wolf.
this phase.
There's that Arctic Wolf. Jaloin, that Summoner going down here momentarily. Followed by...
Snack is cooking himself to death.
You know, time for a tactical nap. But yeah, that was a whole lot of bad luck for Casterians in that. Like you said, with the back shot and the disconnect. Casterian dropping off. Usually I would say these matches come down to a whole bunch of small mistakes adding up over time. This was a lot of bad luck and some major mistakes, unfortunately, but KDCM closing that one out quickly in 4 minutes and 9 seconds.
Yeah, it's not how anyone wants to see this go down with disconnects and other issues, but I don't think that was really the deciding factor here. It looked to me as if things are already kind of sliding in KDCM's favor, just in terms of positioning prior to disconnect occurring.
Yeah, I would agree. It just adds on, you know, there just prevents the any sort of recovery from happening. But looking at scores here, Jay coming in with 429 damage. The keeper on Casterian guards, the star at 307. Otherwise, very low scores overall from Casterian's guards. And KDCM probably about what you would expect for that performance. So, you know, Gwentler and that Victor double D'ing, but with the disconnect. Casterian also double D'ing with that fall and getting legged. It was just a catastrophe for Casterians, unfortunately.
I didn't see whether it was a voluntary drop from the catapult or not. Tactically, it did not make very much sense for me for that catapult to be in the low ground in that location.
From what I saw, it was voluntary, and it also happened like a minute before it actually got jumped. Interestingly.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to send y'all over to the map room. I'll get the next match set up to take a little look from a higher vantage point.
So I think there's two main things that I think KDCM did really well that won them the game, and that was their rotation of their like Laser Bomb and Marauder 2C, which started off here and